Wildcat fans, to a brand new look Deer Park Coaches Show. I'm Jake Snyder, and I'm thrilled to kick off this new season, a new set, and most importantly, a new coach. Joining me today is head football coach Tucker Berger, who's ready to lead the Wildcats this season. Let's get right into it, Tuck.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, obviously, first year as a head coach, you're coming in with plenty of experience with this Deer Park team, offensive coordinator since 2020. Talk to me just a little bit about kind of your journey with Deer Park here and what it's looked like and how we got to this point.
Yeah, so really coming out of college, I didn't know where I was going to coach. I had some talk with Coach Hancock at Wyoming about going back there and coaching junior high. And really a conversation with him, it was really just coach where you teach. And once I kind of locked into teaching here, it really took off. I originally was going to start as a junior high coach and just try to help out on the varsity. But there were some circumstances with some other coaches, and I kind of just jumped right in. So Cal and Coach Sparks really gave me a chance, and that's kind of where it took off from there. I've loved every second of it.
Yeah, and you are a Wyoming grad, so you're familiar with the CHL. But one kind of fun part about this, starting this year in your first year, your dad's a longtime Wyoming coach.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Berger, not anymore though. He's coming over to help coach the Wildcats. How's he looking, Red?
I think at first it was a big jump for him, but he's been there every day and he's really dove right into it. Coming from Wyoming, I think he's been there since 2009. And he coached me when I was in high school, and he's seen a whole lot of things over there and a lot of success. So I think just bringing that over and translating that over really helps the kids, especially with kind of that instruction and kind of building up their football knowledge. But I think having someone that I know I can trust and I've trusted for 26 years of my life, just kind of having him there, it really helps me because he's not going to lie to me. So if I'm doing something, he'll let me know how it is, and he's pretty honest with it too. So yeah, it really helps.
Well, and there's Wyoming's a good football program. Obviously, we know everything about him. There's some credibility there, and he knows how to win and knows how to bring that winning culture as well. I think that's super helpful. Also.
Yeah, and even before that, he was over in Northern Kentucky, coaching at Connor High School, and they had some really, really good teams. Yeah. So he's been a winner pretty much throughout his whole coaching career. So just kind of having that pedigree on the staff really helps.
For sure. All right, let's get into this season. I think to go forward, we first got to go back. This senior class from last year, the outgoing senior class last year, you lost a huge bit of your offense coming into this year. Three major players, Jace Parsons, Jay-Sean Denson, and Brody Armour. That's 1,200 passing yards. That's 12 touchdowns. That's 54 tackles from Denson, all of his rushing yards, 500 receiving yards, 24 catches, 5 touchdowns from Armour. How do you fill those gaps left by such big pivotal players from last year's team and really a couple years back?
Yeah, and it wasn't easy at the start of the summer, just trying to figure out who your leaders are and kind of replace them in that area. Jace and Brody and Jay-Sean, they were there for everything. All our 6 a.m. morning lifts, all our practices, those guys are just tough guys to replace. But the guys that were on the roster last year and have seen how they work, I think they've done a good job of kind of creating that transition with it. Running the offense we run, it might not look difficult to do, but there's so many little nuances in it that you just have to rep. And Jace and Jay-Sean just in the backfield, they'd been meshing that for 3 and 4 years. Yeah. So, hopping in there with Tink and Jaden and Isaiah and trying to get that to where those guys are, it's a little bit more of a process, but they've come along pretty well so far throughout this summer.
All right, we'll get into that triple in your backfield, but I want to start with somebody who kind of has a lot coming back, has a lot of your offensive production that you are returning. Junior wide receiver E.J. Gorey, he had 205 rushing yards on 17 carries, which in average-wise is pretty incredible. 3 touchdowns, plus he had 100 receiving yards, again, on 4 catches. So even though it wasn't a ton of volume, man, that kid provided a spark when he did things.
Mm-hmm. And I really think for him, he's a guy that we're going to try to utilize a lot like Brody, where, if we're throwing the ball, we're trying to get him the ball. Yeah. And just really that's been my thing so far with calling the offense is how can we get all of our athletes the ball in space? How can we spread it around? I mean, he's one guy that we really got to highlight and try to get him the ball, because when he's out in space, he's tough to tackle, and he's just really good with the ball in his hands.
Anybody who's been around this game for a long time, and especially when you run the read option, the triple kind of that type of offense, your offensive line is where things really start and end offensively. You got two guys coming back, Clark McGowan and Lucas Brown, two seniors this year. I mean, you got to be expecting pretty big things from those guys this year.
Yeah, and I mean, both of those guys, 4-year starters.
Yep.
Clark, a back-to-back year captain. And, I mean, he's been an all-league guy on the offense. He's going to play center for us, and he just does a good job of just holding down that middle and picking up those guys around him. I mean, he's really nasty, and he loves pancaking guys. He loves finishing plays, and I'm really just excited for Clark this year. I mean, he's one of those guys that, when colleges contact me, it's he's the first name I send out there.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a good projection for the next level, and he's really, really holding down that offensive line for us right now. With Lucas, I mean, on the defense side of the ball, he's tough to block.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen him countless times just sitting in there with Huster and my dad and trying to break down the defense and kind of going through the stunts and all that. I mean, he's really bought in. I mean, in the past, there's been some stuff with him where he's, not always finished the year and he's had some injuries. But really this year he seems really locked in. And I'm excited for him, and I think this is going to be a big senior season for him.
That's awesome. Now, a couple of guys I want to talk about here. As we mentioned, you guys still running that read option, triple option type of offense. One of the big things of that is you got to have a quarterback who knows what they're doing. And again, you had a 4-year starter or 3-year starter in Parsons, a guy who knew the offense really well. You're bringing a new guy in. He's not new in the sense of he's been on the team. Tink Sellers, he had 11 receptions, 290 yards last year. But now we're doing something a little bit different. With him under center, what are you expecting? What are you looking for? What do you want from Tink this year?
Well, replacing a 3-year starter, it's always tough. And I was a little, I don't want to say worried, but I was kind of cautious coming into it, just how easy and how quick the transition would be. And, I mean, Tink's just taking it and ran with it. I mean, he's throwing the ball really well right now. But I think throughout our 2 scrimmages, the thing you can really see is when he gets out in the open field, he's dangerous. I think in our first scrimmage, he got around the edge, got loose maybe for about a 50-yard touchdown. And, I mean, he just does a great job of just reading that first level, and then once he attacks the second level, I mean, defenses they're really in a bind because, I mean, if you take him, he's going to get the ball out to our fast slots, and if he keeps it, I mean, good luck because I don't think you catch him in a foot race.
Another guy offensively that we didn't see a ton of last year, but defensively played a huge role in this squad was senior linebacker Jaden Moore. Moore had 26 tackles last year and a sack. What's his role going to look like this year? What growth have you seen from him from last season?
I think the biggest growth I've seen in Jaden is how he's leading our team. He's one of our captains, and, I mean, he was pushing everybody. Throughout the whole summer, he's there lifting his butt off. He's working, and I think he's really going to spark on that defense. Playing inside linebacker for us, making all the checks, making all the calls. It's really going to be something special from him. And, I mean, every single week, every single practice, you see him getting better and better, especially, with what the coaches are teaching him. So it's really positive from him. And then on the offensive side, I mean, he's our bruiser. I mean, he's going to try to fill that Jay Sean role.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been trying to tell him, hey, not everything's a home run. 4 and 5 yards are okay. So, he brings a lot of power behind those pads, and that's something I'm really looking forward to seeing from him.
Yeah, you talk about just kind of explosive ability, explosive plays, those home run plays. About 3-4 years ago, I started hearing about this kid down in the Little Cats. That was just faster than everybody, bigger than everybody, stronger than everybody. He's a freshman this year. His name's Morgan Brown, and I have a feeling we're going to see some special things out of this kid.
Yeah, and I mean, starting in the summer, I mean, Morgan was one of 2 guys that was there 38 out of 38 days. Mm-hmm. I mean, he shows up and he works his butt off every day. And I know there's some people out there who don't, believe in playing freshmen and don't think freshmen should get a spot. But, I mean, he's done everything he's deserved to be out there with those guys. I mean, he's going to play one of our slots for us. He's got really good hands. I mean, when he catches pitches or when he gets jets and he gets in the open field, he's real dangerous. Mm-hmm. I mean, he can fly. So, I mean, we're looking to get the ball in his hands. We're looking to get him in space, and we're looking to see what he can do with it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, guess what? We got a game on Friday night. So, you get thrown right into the fire. School starts and we're right at it. So, Dayton Belmont High School coming in to town this Friday night, tomorrow night. And look, they're Division II school. Yeah. What do you see on film from them? What challenges did they present to you? How do we go out and beat them this week?
Dayton Belmont, I mean, they're real athletic. Their quarterback is, I believe, their best player on offense. He's really good in the open field, so we got to try to keep him in the pocket and keep him contained. On defense, they got some size up front. I think their D line's really good. They're active. They'll do a lot of moving, so we got to be able to pick up those pressures and those stunts. But I think if our guys go out there and play well, we'll be all right. Just figuring out how you can match up with that athleticism and how you can match up with that size is something we've kind of struggled with a little bit so far, especially with the size. But, our guys are fired up. We've had a good week of practice so far, so I'm really looking forward to getting out there on Friday.
What does it look like on a Friday night for you, especially this first one? And you don't know, but jitters, do we feel like there's, first game jitters coming into this one for you, but also for your players? What's that Friday night going to feel like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the nerves are there, but I talked to Tony DeMeo. I don't know if many people know him. He's a Hall of Fame college coach, and he comes in and puts our offense in. And I was talking to him this weekend, and I told him, I was like, man, I'm nervous. And he said, if you're not nervous, you're dead. So, I mean, it's nice to know that there's people that have been in that same situation and that I can talk to. But I know once those lights hit and 7 p.m. hits, we'll be good to go. I mean, I think our kids are just fired up for the opportunity.
What's that message that you're going to give them, at 6:55, right before they run through the smoke in the tunnel? What's the last thing you're going to say to them before this game starts?
Really, just leave it all out there. I mean, this is new team, new season, new culture. We're trying to bring Deer Park to a new level. So, I mean, they have the chance to create that. They have the chance to be the first group to kind of start that new footing. And I really think they've kind of bought into that. I mean, we've talked about how there's a lot of people out there who don't have high expectations for us, who don't believe in them, who don't believe in me. And, I mean, I think we've really bought into that, and that's kind of given us that chip on our shoulder that we're going to go out there and show.
Yeah, and kind of expounding upon that, not from a wins and losses perspective, but just, when this season's done, at the end of the day, you play that last game, hopefully, Game 15 is the plan, yeah. But whenever that last game comes, you finish that last game. What's success going to look like to you for this first year for you?
Really, I just think growth. I think if we kind of create a whole new culture, and we've talked about the positivity aspect and not putting each other down and picking each other up, and how teams function and how teams work. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for me. If we have a good footing going into next year where guys want to be there. We're not just skip practice, but where we're showing up and we're getting bodies out there and we're playing hard. I think that's the biggest thing. Did we put our best effort forward every single week? And I think that's all you can ask. I mean, if we put our best effort out there and we only worry about ourselves and worry about what we can do, I think the results are going to go in our favor too.
Totally agree with that. One thing you and I have talked about a little bit this summer is how kind of senior freshman heavy this team is. Yeah. As a new coach coming in, you're really counting on those seniors you have to kind of kick in and buy into that culture that you're asking them to be a part of. What have you seen from your seniors so far this summer and heading into the year?
Yeah, I mean, 14 seniors is a lot. I think going from 5 or 6 last year to 14, it's a huge jump. And I mean, our senior class is probably the most dedicated one we've had. Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys were there pretty consistently over the summer and working their tails off just to get better and better and better. And I mean, I think each of them contributes in some aspect. I mean, some guys play a whole lot on special teams. There's a lot of guys that are playing out there on offense only. There's some that are playing defense only. And I mean, we got Colin who comes out and he's kicking. So I think just, finding the spot for all of them and how they can best impact the team has been the best thing. But I mean, those guys they're so bought in.
Yep.
And I mean, I know the senior class, I don't have to count on them not being at practice. I mean, those guys are always going to be there for me.
Awesome. All right, final thoughts for heading into week 1. Give me just your final, pregame instincts. What's going on in your head? How you feeling heading into week 1?
Really just fired up. I mean, I think this has been a long time coming since February and just something I've kind of dreamt about and just looked forward to. So I think really just want to go out there, put out a good product, and really see what we're about. Hopefully we got the stands packed, red out, so everyone show up, wear your red, and then we'll do the rest.
For sure. Friday night's game, tomorrow night's game at Harry Yegi Family Stadium, kickoff at 7 p.m. It's Hall of Fame night. It's alumni night. Like Tuck said, it's a red out. Obviously we want those stands filled up. If you can't make it, don't you worry. Game will also be streamed live, as always, on the Deer Park Sports Network on YouTube. You can find that by looking up Deer Park Sports Network. That's going to do it for Tuck and myself for week 1. Come back and see us every single week, Thursday evenings. Get yourself prepped and ready. We're excited to kick this thing off, and it's going to be a great year for the Deer Park Wildcats. So that's going to finish us off, and we will see you all under the Friday Night Lights tomorrow night.